I'm your host, Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I talk Star Wars with this man.
This week we are, starting from this week
Mm.
forward, we're going to be kind of here at the home office like we used to be back in the early parts of the season. We were in a different room, but we're at the home office. It was the same place, location, just not same room, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
since I relocated where the office was at the house. Um, but from here on out, we're going to be here. Uh, so get used to this setup.
Yep.
Before we get into some news, we like to normally start the show by talking about our week so far and what outside of Star Wars we've been up to. So, as usual, we'll start with you and
Okay.
we'll...
I went this week and replayed the entirety of the first Last of Us game.
Okay.
Yeah.
I experienced that for the first time earlier this year, and so
Mm. This is a thing I've been doing for years now. Every year, kind of a little bit during the summer, I'm like, oh man, I would like to go and play another game that's kind of good. I guess Last of Us it is again because I can't play anything else at them. Well,
you,
I can play
yeah,
other
you just
things.
can't play anything past the PS3
Yeah.
generation at the moment.
Like, it's either this or going through Dishonored again.
Yeah. Anything else?
Uh, I saw another mountain in Minecraft. I was like, man, fuck this mountain.
Um, I guess we can talk about my dog saga
Yeah.
that you saw the finale of, I guess. So this started Friday, no, Thursday.
Mhm.
So Thursday, I'm getting ready to feed my dogs because usually I feed my dogs once a day. I feed them around 4 our time. There's three of them. So I start collecting their bowls and I look in the backyard because I'm getting ready to like take one of the other because our my roommate also has a dog.
Mhm.
So there's four dogs in the house total, and I usually let the fourth dog out while I'm feeding my dogs. I look at the back door and I see two strange random dogs in my backyard. Don't know these
One, two,
dogs.
three, four, five, six.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
I don't know these dogs. Thankfully, all of our dogs are inside still.
Yeah.
So I look and I'm like, where'd these dogs come from? And I go out to the front, like to go see, look at the fence to see if like something see it. Nope, no, I don't know what happened. Um, I walk further out the front of my house to see if like somebody's looking for their dogs or anything. Nobody's looking. Nobody's looking around. It's about to rain, so my sister calls my parents and my dad and is like, "Hey, what should we do?" So we let the dogs in. We let them hang out in my parents' room. Uh, that way they're not dealing with the rain.
Yeah.
Because just because they're not our dogs doesn't mean we make them stay out in the rain. We're not monsters. We post on Facebook out going, hey, if anybody knows whose dogs these are, like we get some pictures, we post. We're like, anybody know these dogs? And we ask both of our neighbors because we're really close with the neighbor
Yeah.
on that side. Kind of know the neighbors on that side, and so we ask, and they're like, no clue. Um, and then yesterday, my dad went to go while I went to work with my mom. He went to go see if the dogs were chipped because sometimes dogs are chipped. So take them to the shelter, see if they're chipped. No chip. So he brings them back home, puts them in the backyard, tells my sister to keep an eye on them, and he goes to meet us at me and my mom at work, which is about an hour. So he at some point he gets a call from my sister going, "Hey, those dogs aren't in the backyard anymore."
Yeah. Yes, they
So they just disappeared.
disappeared as quickly as they appeared.
And so we were just like, okay. So we update our posts going, hey, they disappeared from our yard. Don't know what happened. Uh, and then my dad gets gets a comment on his post from the neighbor.
Mm.
Turns out neighbor's son is actually friends with the owner of those dogs, and that they had taken the dogs out of the backyard. and brought him back to the owner. And so we're just like, oh, okay, at least the dogs are safe.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if you'd let us know that you were doing that, but at least the dogs are safe. Because we were thinking that the dogs just disappeared again. And so then today, I pick you up for the podcast.
Yeah.
I pull into the driveway, like we just get here. It's like just before time when we're supposed to be on. Like we've still got like 5 minutes to get ready. And then this dog, the wiener dog, the same exact dog, one of the same exact dogs comes rolling in, hangs out under my car. And I check my phone because I'm like, it can't be the same dog. And it is. Because I look at the picture on my phone, I'm like, no, that's the same dog. It's got the same collar. So I go to my neighbor. The neighbor's not actually there, but his son is there. And so they
like, hey,
we found the dog again. He's like, I don't know how the dog keeps getting out. Yeah, it must be finding somewhere and like tiny to slip through.
Yeah.
And he wanted to hang out with us. That wiener dog was following me like I was the owner, man.
Yeah.
he like, and then he hid under the truck. He hid under the car. It is hot out, so like that dog was just trying to find shade.
Yeah, it's like, look, man, it's hot out here.
But yeah, no. So safe back home again.
Yeah.
Need to figure out who this neighbor is that has these dogs, just so that way if we get this a third time, we can just take them directly. Other than that, it's been BG3.
Yeah. And you were explaining plot stuff, but
yeah, obviously
obviously,
like we're still like only a couple weeks into the PS5 release,
so we're not gonna say anything about it.
Yeah, because I want to give people that have just started playing because of the PS5 release a chance to, and plus on the 21st they're releasing patch 3, which will make it Mac compatible as well now. So players will be starting to play this week. So that's another week of new players where I'm gonna have to be like, okay, we can only talk about Act 1 really, because that's new. I mean, sure, I know there's gonna be people that are triple dipping that have been like, I bought it on PC, I bought it on PS5, I'm gonna buy it on Mac. Actually, I think if you have it on PC, you have it on Mac, so actually you don't even have to triple dip. But like, there's gonna be those people, and I don't want to ruin the experience for them either, especially if it's their first time, because it is such a good game that I don't want to ruin that experience for anybody that's just playing it for the first time. And then, of course, later this year, Xbox confirmed as well. They haven't said when this year, but they're gonna drop it on Xbox as well, because they finally worked something out with Microsoft. Because the big issue was split screen co-op, and it was working fine on the Xbox Series X. I think I want to make sure I get the right one. X is and then S is the lower version, right?
I don't fucking know.
You live with like Xbox people.
Yeah, like 360s.
No, they got like.
Well, they do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Drew and I'm like, I don't fucking. They took out the disc port. I'm mad as shit about that.
I think that's the S.
Yeah.
X has the disc port still. That's kind of like how you can get the disc version of PS5, like I have, or you can do the discless version, which is a little bit cheaper by like $100. Like they drop $100 if you get the discless. Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't have discs anyway, so like, although I hope eventually we get a disc version of Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, it's selling enough that I could imagine them doing a deluxe edition that has like a disc version down the line. But yeah, so even then later this year, I'm gonna have to once again be like, we can't talk about Act 3 or any like Act 2 because new players are, and I think that's I'm fine with not being able to talk about it because it means the community's growing. And I think it's the same thing with Star Wars. I wouldn't want it, like, I'm not going to complain about the community getting bigger as long as the people that are joining the community aren't assholes. Yeah, as long as the people in the community are nice to other people in the community, I'm not going to complain about the community growing. That's a good thing. You should want your fandom to grow, I think. But yeah, so that's been my week. Can't think of anything else really that's...
Only other thing I've had that's going on this week is well, technically I have two things.
Mm-hmm.
One, starting up another game with Ethan, and this time we're gonna do essentially a bi-weekly rotation where he's gonna DM for 2 weeks and then I'm gonna switch over because
He tends to have a burnout thing.
Yeah, he's very good at like world building and getting things set up, but he's also very stressed about how things will run. I don't have that problem.
Yeah. Like he tends to burn out quickly.
Yeah,
and
he wants things to go 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 go. And I get that sometimes, but other times it's like just give it a minute.
Yeah, because players tend to like to goof off and do side. Like if you show the players, here's the main objective, but here's this funny side thing, they're gonna go for the funny side thing every time.
I don't recall.
And it doesn't even have to be funny. Like but the side thing. So you either show them the main objective and go, this is the, like, you can literally be having a neon sign going, this is the direction you're supposed to go. Players will go the opposite way every time. Every time. And it's not because they don't care about the main objective. It's because they want to explore the world more. Like, it hasn't... In fact, it's because they like the world you're building that they do these side things. It's very much the... It's The Witcher 3. The main plot line of Witcher 3 is fantastic, but everybody loves the side quests in Witcher 3 more.
Good too. I forget which Witcher it is, but the whole fucking bureaucracy one about dealing with the bank.
Yeah, so like everybody loves the side quest of The Witcher 3 more than the main plot of Witcher 3, but they love the Witcher 3 plot, but it's because they love the world that The Witcher 3 is set in that they like the side quest. And that's the same with the D&D or any tabletop game. When you build this world, if the players are invested in the side content more than the main plot, don't get upset about that. That means they like the world you've built. At least in my experience. But yeah. The other thing.
So,
second thing.
The other thing is, you know when your charge cord starts to go out? Yeah, I've been dealing with that all week. So just kind of finagling with it.
And it's not, yeah, for me, it's not my charge cord going out. It's that I notice that over time, I've noticed that it's not the charge cord. It's the, like in the case of the phone, it's usually that the section where the cord goes. The port has kind of like slowly, like, like, not even shifted. It's, what's the word I'm looking for? Stripped, almost. It's almost stripped. But, like, I don't even think that's the right word. But it's, like, because you plug it in and out so often, like, throughout the lifetime of a phone, that it's... The wire is still good, because you can plug it, like... I use the same plug for this, for my PS5 controllers, because USB-C is now the standard. It's even now the standard for iPhone, because the new iPhone is going to be USB-C. Thank God. Finally, they got part of the program, although they only got part of the program because Europe was going to cite them for bad business practices for it. But yeah, so I've noticed that it's not the cord, it's whatever you're plugging into over time, because over time that's going to become loose. Because if you plug that same cord into other things, I bet you it fits perfectly. And I've had this phone for a while now. Like, I'm somebody who holds on to a phone until I absolutely cannot.
Like, it just will not go anymore.
Like, yeah, until it's actually dead.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this thing has, I mean, it's got cracks on it and everything. I mean, you're probably not gonna get it. Well, yeah, you can get a good view of it. Yeah, you can see the cracks all there. Yeah. So, like, this thing is cracked like all hell, but it works. I can still, like, my screen looks fine when I turn it on. And then I can, still works.
Yeah.
So, and it still takes pictures just fine, even though there's cracks on the back, too. So, like...
Why would I get rid of it?
Exactly. And it's not like it's slowed down or anything, because I don't use Apple. Another shot at Apple. But because Apple actively slows your phone down after so many updates to make you swap to the upgrade. But since my phone's not slowing down either, that like the only thing I really have problems with now is how much stuff I put on it. I am at the point where like I'm having to delete things consistently just to keep room on it, even with an SD card, like an external SD card on it. I could just get a bigger SD card because I forget how big the one that's in my phone is right now, but they've probably made bigger ones by since I bought it, because SD cards can carry a lot nowadays for cheap too. Like I'm looking into eventually getting a tower so I can PC game properly. Although my laptop works fine for PC gaming. I know that a tower is more of a better investment because you can change parts out more interchangeably. And I was looking at one, and it's not that bad for a 16 gig RAM. It's 280 gigabyte hard drive SSD. That part I'd probably change out, which I found a terabyte SSD for like $50. Like, it's not bad. It's not that bad when you think about it. Like, a terabyte is a lot.
I know. That's what I was thinking about.
I mean,
at first my brain was like, why would you need that much? And then I remembered how games are nowadays.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's right. They don't believe in fucking.
And then, like, I mean, to give an example, I've got a 5 terabyte external.
Yeah. Frick.
Yeah, the Great Fall. But yeah, the 5 terabyte SSD. I mean, not SSD. That one's a HDD, but because it's an external. But I mean, that thing wasn't even full when the Great Fall of it happened. I mean, that thing wasn't even full. So like, and I've been putting games on it again, and it's still not full. I mean, and it's got some of the videos that I've got on the Patreon right now. It's got videos since July on there, because that was not long after the fall happened. So like, I just reset what videos are on there, so anything after the fall has been on that on that hard drive. So that's still a lot of videos, and once again, you just looked at it, because I pulled it up. It's still got 3 something terabytes left. I mean,
you're not gonna need a new one for a while.
So yeah, I mean, so looking at a tower, I was like, okay, a terabyte hard drive, maybe 2 terabytes because it'd be for gaming, so you might need a little bit more. And then the only other thing was maybe upgrade the graphics card, because while it was a GeForce something, I think it was an older one. It was like a GTX something. So, I mean, I was looking specifically at like Starfield, trying to see what the minimum was on that, and that's where it gets expensive, is the graphics card. The graphics card is really where it's like, yeah, you gotta get something a little expensive to keep up. And Starfield is kind of the new baseline, because that's kind of the new game that everybody's kind of like, it takes a lot to run.
Yeah.
And even with people hitting the recommended, I've seen some footage that's like, oof, that's rough, buddy.
Yeah. Steve was playing it earlier.
I was about to say, you of all people probably have.
And I was also like scrolling through, and there was a very funny instance, like a little clip about how apparently a lot of the character models in that game will give you like a weird side eye.
Yeah, there's a lot of side eyeing, and there's a lot of just dead stares. I mean, but that's just Bethesda. Bethesda does the dead stare all the time in their NPC models, which that's not an excuse. Honestly, especially since they're on a new engine. This is the first of their new engine. You would hope that there would have been some upgrades in that, but the game is still fun from what I've heard. So at the end of the day, if people are still having fun, I'm not going to take that away from you. But as a business practice, I don't like that Bethesda counts on the modders to fix their game. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Like, you don't see Larry, going back to Baldur's Gate 3, you don't see Larry and counting, like, they have a healthy modding community, but they don't count on their modders to fix their game.
Yeah.
Whereas Bethesda has always counted on that. Like, even as far back as Skyrim. But in the Skyrim days, it made sense for modders to have to do that, because back then, that was before you would get the day one patch or anything like that. This was before that type of gaming. This was back when you got the game, and whatever was on the disc, that was it. Maybe some DLC to include, like, new storylines, maybe, like an expansion or two. But that, you weren't expecting, like, patches to games like you do nowadays. So I think, so even with Fallout 4, that really, they also shouldn't have counted on the community, but that's also where you started to see the dark side of modding, because that's when Bethesda was like, we're going to charge you to buy a mod. Because Bethesda tried that mod store thing for Fallout 4. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I forgot about that for that game I never played.
But it was a whole thing, like,
I remember
because they were even trying to sell
like,
some of the
there
mods
were
for
a couple-
Skyrim too.
Fallout's had some interesting history.
Because that was the Creation Club. That's what it was called.
Ah,
Where they would sell you mods. And it's just like, and this money wasn't going to modders. This was
no,
like,
it's just-
this was Bethesda partnering with some modders, and Bethesda would get most of the money. It was just like, and that there was also a lot of stolen mods on the
Yeah.
Creation Club, because people were creating mods that were publicly available on, like, Nexus mods and putting them into, and this was so that the supposed reason for Creation Club was so that way you could get mods onto console games. And I like that idea of making mods available for console, because that's the one thing console gamers who like Bethesda games have always been outcrying for, is like, hey, we would like to experience mods too, because we like these games just as much as PC players. But of course, that's not what they were really doing. They were trying to get a quick buck. It's not the most egregious thing Bethesda has ever done, though. There's the horse armor for Oblivion. I'm guessing you forgot about that till I said it.
I forgot that.
Yeah, that I forget how much it was, but it was expensive horse armor. Oh, let me look it up. I know Google will have this. Oh yeah, like, as soon as I put horse armor the second thing is Oblivion price.
All right.
$250 for horse armor. That's
That's
no, Oblivion is $250. Diablo 4 just did the same thing.
4 times the price.
So Diablo 4 did not learn from Oblivion's mistake. I didn't even know about the Diablo 4 one. I mean, $250 though for horse armor is still also ridiculous. Because that was for Oblivion. So let's see, that was like 2006, 7, around there. 2008 maybe? Because it was only 4 to 5 years between Oblivion and Skyrim. Something like that. Because Skyrim was 2011. You forgot how old that game was, huh? It was like 2010, 2011, something like that. Oh, yeah. But yeah, like, so put inflation into that, like,
Yeah.
250 is expensive for horse armor.
Yeah.
It wasn't even good horse. It was just gold. It was just a gold horse armor. That's what people paid
This is
$2.50 for.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So, like I said, Creation Club is not even the most egregious thing that Bethesda has pulled. And then Fallout 76. I actually don't mind.
Going through the conga line, aren't we?
I don't mind 76 as much as other people. I think when it first started out, yes, it's rough. But I think it's gotten to a place where it should be. But yeah. That's, I think that's it for, I know you brought up that bit, so is there anything else regarding? Okay.
No.
Then yeah, that's it for what we've been up to for the week then. It's a new record. We didn't spend 30 minutes on it.
I mean, I could talk to you about Bloodborne lore for like another 10.
No. We've got some news actually to talk about.
All right.
Getting into Star Wars news. A few episodes back, we talked about some upcoming Visions comics. And it turns out...
Sorry, I don't know what to do with my...
And it turns out that along with the ones that we talked about last time, we will be getting another story in the Ronin Star Wars timeline in January called Star Wars Visions Takashi Okazaki #1. So the official StarWars.com blurb regarding the comic. Star Wars Visions Takashi Okazaki #1, written by Takashi Okazaki. Art and cover by him as well. Takashi Okazaki returns to the world of the Ronin once more. He's the one that actually wrote the script for the original short. We've seen the Ronin as a Sith Slayer, but who was the Ronin before? See the early history of the Ronin and his Sith origins in this one-of-a-kind Vision special. Thoughts? This is the one that I know you... This is the one I figured you were excited about. Like, we know the Ronin's background, but to get to see it... Because the... Where's the book? It's on the lower part of the... Oh, there it is. We got to... we got to... It's on the left over here. It's next... Second up. Yeah. But, like, we got to...
Yeah.
Like, that book is what made the Ronin verse for you, as I like to dub it sometimes. And so that kind of set up what Grimm/Ronin, like, his backstory. I say Grimm because...
Forgot his nickname.
Yeah, because Grimm was his nickname in the book.
Yeah.
But that novel set up that story. And I imagine Emma, the author of the book, worked really closely with Takashi to kind of come up with this character. Because because the book rips directly from the episode for the first few chapters with some new information, because we get the inner monologue of Grimm during all that we didn't get during the short. So I imagine that this will not stray too far from that, but I think it will maybe show us what led to the uprising.
Yeah.
Or even, like, just show us the events of the uprising, because it says his Sith years, so I would imagine we're just going to dive right into that. Let me... Because it does show the cover, so... I am going to pull that up. And let our viewers see it. So that's the cover. I like it. It's simple. It keeps the art style that we know for the Ronin timeline, and it matches the last comic we read.
Yeah.
For Ronin. So I'm excited. I like more Star Wars is always good Star Wars for me. But more Visions content is also great, and specifically Ronin Visions. But the fact that they keep continuing the Ronin verse tells me that other Visions stories will probably get continuations. Because the Ronin one isn't even the most popular of the shorts. From what I like, the Ronin one is good. and it's a very liked one, but I don't even think it's the most popular one. At least from people like from when those episodes came out, I don't remember it being the most popular episode. I remember stuff being like the Ninth Jedi being one of the more popular ones, where people were like, "That should be a show." Like,
Yeah.
so I would hope other ones get continuations of their timelines in media. I would like more books too, because books you can really dive into stuff in books, and at least as far as the comics go, they tend to be happy with just the one shots. So
Hmm.
that tends to be where they're going.
Thinking about it, I'm not. I don't know if I'm just off today. That might be it. I'm not really sure I care much to see Grimm's origins. I feel like they were decently explained, but I guess seeing and
Here,
knowing are
yes,
different.
yeah, seeing and hearing about it are I feel are two different things, which is why I'm excited to see it.
Yeah,
It's kind of it's why we get prequels to things because we can hear about them, and sure, I think
because like we know why he decided. All right, fuck this.
yeah. I mean, I also just think in terms of the Ronin timeline, there's nowhere to go forward with the story because I think
Yeah,
by
it
the end of
wrapped
the
itself
I
up
think the
pretty
novel
well.
wraps up like any major threat that's in the
Yeah,
Ronin timeline.
yeah,
Like any major threat that exists in the Ronin timeline is wrapped by the end of the novel. I think. I mean, they could
like
come up with new threats, but I don't know what.
at least in regards to the main cast, because I don't think there's anything that could bother them at the end of that.
Yeah, because Grimm deals with spoilers for that novel, but it's one of our first episodes. It's
Yeah,
the third episode or something like that.
yeah.
If you want to go back, you can. It's up. It's in it's there. Um, Grimm resolves his issues because his issues have to deal with the guilt for starting the conflict between the Sith and starting the Sith war, and also other guilt regarding his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That all gets resolved by the end of the book. It's not
Yeah, that'd be an awkward dinner conversation.
um in regards to Traveler, their stuff is completely resolved too
Mm-hmm.
because they deal with the stuff regarding their master. That's all resolved. Um, the I forget what her name was, but the Sith that he fights in the short, that's all resolved. Like her whole thing of why did I come back, why to life, and all that stuff,
Yeah.
resolved. Um, yeah, I can't think of anything that like, and since since Grimm slash Ronin's whole thing is killing off the remaining Sith that he created, there's really nowhere else to go because by the end of that book there are no more
Yeah.
Sith that
All
he's
done.
yeah, like his main goal of like kill off these people that I created.
He got pretty far before we met him.
Yeah, he was already 90% of done.
He's like he's going around. He's like, all right, before I complete the story, finish off the side objectives.
Like same thing with like the last comic we read. That was the start of his journey of getting rid of Sith that he created. Even then, it sounds like he pretty much collected on a good chunk of them already.
Admittedly, him being that timeline's like major Dark Lord probably helped.
Yeah. I mean, he was the Darth Vader of that timeline.
Hey, boss.
He was the Darth Vader of that timeline, but there was also no Emperor.
Yeah.
Like, he just was, like, he was the boss. Now, to be fair, though, the other Sith knew he switched sides, so that's why they knew to fight him whenever he approached.
Yep.
But like
it's on site.
Yeah, so like I think the only thing you can do with this timeline is go backwards.
Mm.
to see more.
Yeah, like what exactly is like the breaking point where Grimm's just like, all right, fuck this, I've had enough.
Or even just watch the events of the war play
Yeah.
out, like almost like the Clone Wars cartoon, like just kind of see it play out and see how he ends up somebody who's so hurt by the Jedi in this feudal system to someone who's like, you know what, I went too far. Like, how does he get from that line of thinking to the other?
I was gonna make a joke,
Of
but
course,
that,
we know what the final straw, like we know his breaking point of why he's like, oh, I went too far, because the novel goes into it. It's the mirror stuff. That's when he realized he went too far. Um,
yep.
it's kind of the it's kind of the Malachor for Revan, where Revan's like, oh, I did that, didn't I?
Yep.
But Revan didn't go back. He kept going forward. He's like, nope, I'm a Sith now. Meanwhile, Grimm's like,
Maybe I should cool it a little bit.
yeah. So I'm interested. It's gonna be a one shot. That was the other thing I was gonna say is these comics have been one shots. I wouldn't mind a longer, like ongoing comic instead. Next up though, on news, we have an announcement for new Essential Legends collections reprints. So more of those reprints of classic Legends books. Firstly, we'll be getting some of the oldest Star Wars novels that I know of, in regards of even before the EU kind of became a big thing. The Adventures of Lando Calrissian, which were 3 like smaller books. They were about like yay big, so they're just putting all 3 of them into one book. I mean,
fair enough.
And so it's just a trilogy. And then we'll also be getting a reprint of the next X-Wing book, because they've been reprinting the X-Wing books. And the next one is Iron Fist. And lastly, we'll be getting the last Commando book, Imperial Commando 501st. These are all part of Wave 10 of the Essential Legends collections, because they've been doing them in waves where they'll do like 3 books each wave. This one won't be out until June of next year. So, because we're still waiting on waves 8 and 9 to come out, which are October and February, respectively.
Okay.
So, no art yet for those books, because they do the new art on them as well for the reprints. Makes sense to me to have these. I mean, they've been printing out the Republic / Imperial Commando books as part of this for a minute now, so it makes sense to just get all the Commando books out.
Yeah.
Same thing with X-Wing. They've been printing those out since the first or second wave. So it makes sense to me to keep printing out the X-Wing books. People like the X-Wing books. I mean, it's the Rogue Squad. That's where you get Rogue Squadron from. That's where you get a lot of the stuff that we know about X-Wing pilots. And then makes sense to do. I mean, the Lando one is kind of more left field, but it makes sense to me. It's. I think they are essential because they're a part of Legends history. Because without the books like the Adventures of Lando Calrissian, you wouldn't eventually get the Zahn trilogy, and then the Zahn trilogy, you wouldn't get the prequels the way they are. It all builds up to what Star Wars is today, I think. So, you have probably less thoughts on that.
Yeah, I don't. But this is unlocked like a thing for me. While I was looking around at the bookshelves the other day that we have in our house, you will never guess what I fucking found.
Found a Star Wars book?
I found a Star Wars book. Not only did I find one Star Wars book, I found like 3 of them.
Okay.
I found the Tales from Mos Eisley.
Oh, Tales from Mos Eisley. I've got that one. Actually, I don't know if I got Mos Eisley. I got Jabba's Palace, and I've got Tales from the New Republic. They're basically the same idea, where they're just a collection of short stories, because that's what the Mos Eisley one. It's just a collection of short stories. I know there's some. Speaking of X-Wing, there's some Michael A. Stackpole stuff in that, usually because I think he wrote a lot of short stories for those.
Hmm.
Because Michael A. Stackpole was the writer for most of the X-Wing novels. So I think he does some of that. I know he does for the New Republic one. You get a lot of the classic Legends authors in those usually though. I don't know if Timothy Zahn wrote one for Mos Eisley.
I can look it up when I get.
Yeah, it's but they those are interesting collections. I'm surprised they haven't tried to reprint those because those are I feel like short stories get the, not to make a pun, the short end of the stick. Because people kind of forget that short stories are also still used, like they're still important to literary.
Speaking of, no,
Did
you
you
still haven't read it, dude?
No. Did you get the thing I sent you?
Motherfucker.
Lastly, though, in Star Wars news,
Mm.
and sadly, in video game news, no death, but it is the Star Wars. No.
Someone died.
No. It feels like it though,
Uh,
because the Star Wars Jedi game director Stig Asmussen is leaving Electronic Arts. Which, according to Bloomberg, this is the quote, after careful thought and consideration, Stig Asmussen has decided to leave Respawn to pursue other adventures, and we wish him the best of luck. Veteran Respawn leaders will be stepping up to guide the team as they continue their work on Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I say sadly, because this is the man who created both Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. And we know they're gonna most likely work on a third game, but I feel like when you get rid of the game director for a franchise,
that could make things complicated.
that changes the direction of a series. I mean, let's look at some of the biggest games in video game history. Halo. Look how different the franchise is, going from like Bungie to 343. Completely different franchise, I'd argue, at this point. Like, I think Halo Reach was the last Bungie one.
I think so.
And then, like, Halo 4 onwards was 343, I think. And you can tell the vibe changes in terms of the story. Starting with 4. And then I remember 5 being the one that people really didn't like, because that was the one where Master Chief's on the run and Nathan Fillion's trying to...
What?
That's the one where Nathan Fillion's tracking him down, right?
I think so, yeah. It's like...
Because it becomes Halo the Fugitive.
Yeah.
And then for half the game you're playing as Nathan Fillion, and the other half you're Master Chief. I think it's 5. And then we're not even going to talk about the newest one, where I don't even know the plot of the newest one. Like, I haven't heard anybody talk about the plot for the most recent one.
I'll do some research and get back to you on it.
I know as far as the multiplayer has gone, that's been a train wreck. For the recent one. And then, like...
I'm also not entirely sure what happens in 5.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he's on the run.
Well, it's part of the Cortana stuff in 5.
Yeah.
I don't know the most recent one, because there's the new one. So
Yeah.
Not 6,
I know
but
that
it's...
as of not Halo 6,
Infinite.
it's not on the run
Infinite,
anymore.
yeah, Infinite, yeah.
Those charges they had against him were repealed.
Yeah. Although Cortana's still evil, I think.
Yeah. She's still going a bit nuts.
Yeah. And then, of course, we're dealing with the Forerunner. Different franchise.
Yep.
But same idea. Is you eventually, if you change directions, which switching game director is going to change the direction of a franchise.
Callow's not doing okay.
I'm curious where a Jedi 3, whatever they call it, where that would end up. I say sadly because I think Stig's direction makes the story. Of course, that's not to take away from anybody else on the team. But I think a game director is the one. It's like a film director. You have somebody guiding the vision. And like, yes, everybody works together to make that vision happen, but without a good director, that vision can't happen. I could be wrong though, because like they said they're gonna bring other people that have worked in Respawn leadership, and Respawn as a whole, I don't think has really done anything while while being a property of EA. Respawn has not failed to deliver a good game, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because like Titanfall 1, good game. Could have used a story, but a good game. Titanfall 2, they gave us the story because people asked for a story. And it was a good story. And it somehow made people cry over a robot.
What do you think crying over robots makes you special?
But you know what I mean? Like, a game that makes you care so much about I mean, because it made people care about the robots in Titanfall.
Sorry.
You have to admit, that's amazing. And then they gave us Apex, which, while I'm not a big... I don't play a lot of those type of games. I will admit Apex is a good game. Although they have made some hiccups recently, from what I've heard from people that play it.
I'd have to ask Andrew.
And I don't know why Apex is the only game of its caliber that doesn't have squads.
Like trio.
Yeah, trio. They only have trios.
Yeah, they were like, 3 should be enough.
Except we learned when Fortnite tried to get rid of squads, it did not go well. Because Fortnite tried to follow suit and was like, let's get rid of squads.
Fortnite's a different game.
It's the same concept.
Same concept, but they have different mechanics.
Yeah. But I would imagine like squads would make Apex even more. Because I've learned that it's harder to get 3 people to play a game than it is for 4.
You would think that there being less would make it easier.
No. See, the trick is, I think solos, duos, and squads are the sweet spots.
1, 2, and 4.
Because easy to pull up a game by yourself. Yeah, that's easy. Although Apex doesn't really offer that either, and it doesn't offer duos, which is also I think an easy thing to do. It's easy to just go, hey, well, one of my buddies want to play, cool. Easy to do that. 3, I think, is where it gets tough, because it's always hard to find just 3 people to play, because either you don't have enough people, or you have
one too many,
or you have one too many, or even more.
Yeah.
And then when you get to squads, okay, that's easy to fill. You get a 4-man squad, and if other people want to play, usually they can easily do a solo by themselves or grab more people for another squad. Because usually if more than 4 people are going to play, it's probably going to be about 8 people, is what I've learned, that want to play. And so usually you can get another squad going more easily. So I think 3 is the unlucky spot for getting a team together. It's why I think you almost never see 3 as, like, when you group up in a video game. It's never 3.
Yeah, that would...
Usually when you're grouping up, it's 4.
Yeah.
Because 3 is a weird spot. But yeah. I am still excited to see where they go with the franchise, because it's still a good game. But yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I'm just...
No, you're fine. You're fine. Let's go ahead and get into... that is all today's news. So we'll go ahead and get into today's topic. We're going to take a quick break,
The
though.
other thing that is, like, kind of throwing me off is that I look like a fucking giant. I think that's just because I'm further back.
Yeah, you're further back. But, we'll go ahead and take a quick break before we get into today's topic. And, so we'll be right back. There we go. We're back.
Yep.
I hit the wrong thing for the mic. Okay. So let's get into today's topic. Star Wars: The High Republic Volume 2, Battle for the Force. This is your spoiler warning.
Since it's new, you know.
Yeah.
I guess we could give you a warning.
Um,
One warning.
we have talked about
Yeah.
some of the events of this comic before, though. When we talked about, and I was talking about this on the way here,
Yeah.
Path of Vengeance.
Yeah, because it also covers the events.
Yeah, because it's the end of the Battle of Jeddah, and then some of the events, like some of the recovery after, and like the aftermath of.
Yep.
Path of Vengeance kind of covers that, but doesn't like focus on it. It just goes, yeah, here's the ending of those events, and then it like has to switch gears because it doesn't focus on Jeddah for the rest of the book. Whereas this is just about Jeddah. So what was it like seeing Tay Sarek again?
You know, at first, I kind of disliked him.
But then he was anti-Jedi.
Yeah.
Well, not anti-Jedi. He's
He's anti
Force religions.
He's so done with it. I think he's just anti like
Guardians.
Yeah, assholes.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it's not that he's anti that stuff. It's more of he's seen the
he's like, yo, we have to.
He's against the politics of it.
Yeah, he's like, should we be concerned?
He's like, shouldn't we be looking at the little people and not protecting this temple?
Yeah.
Which we see the backfire of that, because we see what happens when, because of course, the end of Volume 1 and the setup of this volume for the comics is that they have to protect the Force artifacts, because it turns out the riot was and the whole Battle of Jeddah is a distraction.
Yeah.
We get to see that they were really trying to break into the fallen statue that we see in Rogue One, which it turns out is a vault of Force artifacts. We see the return of the Herald.
Yep.
Because we haven't seen him in a while. Still don't like him. And it turns out it was his idea, essentially, to like do this whole like, we'll distract them here so we can do this. And along with him is Yana.
And the replacement crew.
Yeah. And so they're breaking into there, and meanwhile, Maddie and Vildar and I forget his name now. The Sorcerer of Tund. You know what I'm talking about, though.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, the Tund Sorcerer that we talked about before.
The one that
went off, but because he went mad because of the whole nameless creature being around.
The nameless just does that to Force users.
They're defending our favorite little tap bar, the Enlightenment, because they meet up with Kraden and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna hold the fort here and basically let a bunch of refugees hide here."
And Kraden's like, fine.
Yeah, because basically he realizes, I should probably protect normal people because they can't be out on the street.
Fuckers, gotta help them.
Because Kraden is a good guy, and we love Kraden.
It's like, you all fucking owe me for this, but I'll do it.
Because we love Kraden at this podcast. Kraden is a good man. Because going back to Volume 1, he didn't let, a child murderer hang out and hide in his bar.
Yeah. So the fuck up.
Yeah, let Tay Sarek beat the crap out of him. Almost kill that man.
Yeah.
Because I think it's implied that he almost killed him, but he didn't kill him.
I think,
he's
the other Guardians of the Wills hadn't been like, what the fuck, why did you go off, man?
Yeah, he would have.
He would have died.
Yeah. And so, yeah, Kraden is a good man. So we don't badmouth Kraden here. And so they find out that there's a back way.
Yeah.
And it turns out Tay Sarek snuck out that way. because he's trying to find. I forget what Tay's goal is in that, because he found the back entry first.
Yeah.
I forget specifically, but he finds the back way first. Vildar figures out about it, and the initial plan is to sneak everybody out.
Yeah.
Because they're like, okay, we can sneak everybody out this back way, because at this point there's like enforcer droids trying to break through.
Yeah.
Like, things have gotten out of
It's
hand.
bad.
It's bad. And so they say, let's try to get everybody out, because that's probably the safest route if we just get everybody, because the back way out leads to like the sewers and stuff, and Creighton knew about it, but he didn't say anything, which is why they're like, why didn't you say anything? He's like, I didn't think it was a good idea at the time.
It's like, I didn't think it was a good idea. Why? We got sewer gators or something.
Yeah, and so
I think that's like the actual reason. He's like, there's some weird.
although
There's sewer rats.
Yeah, sewer
and they
rats.
are not happy about anything.
although that does not end up being the problem for why getting everybody out that way. It turns
No.
out no, things just there's just a cave in.
Yeah, it's also highly unstable down there.
That yeah. So there's a cave in that separates Vildar, Mac, and Tay Sarek from the rest of the group. So Vildar's like, "Hey, Maddie, you're in charge. Hold the fort down."
Yep, don't fuck it up. I believe in you.
And so her and the Sorcerer Rotund are like, "Great, we're in charge.
All right.
We don't want to be, but we are." And Vildar's going there so that way they can locate Olivia,
Yeah.
because they got the call from Olivia.
Where it's like things are not going great at the statue.
Yep. Like the last they hear is like it breaking up.
Mid-sentence.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, we gotta go check this out. They go and check, find Olivia passed out.
Yeah. Like, oh no.
Because last time we saw her, she did get stabbed.
Ow.
I don't know if you remembered that.
Forgot about it.
She was stabbed last time we saw her. Or shot or something like that. I know there was like something that looked very fatal from like that frame. So they
What should also be there? What's the fucking leveler? The nameless itself.
yeah.
The Shri Karai Karai. This
Well,
fucking thing.
that's how they killed Master Laban.
Yeah. He's dead.
She.
They're dead.
Yeah.
I forgot because it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
At
Well-
least for me. I don't.
Let's ask John. He knows. He's played that race before.
Yeah, he would know.
He's played that race in my Star Wars games
Yeah.
before. We didn't get very far with that character, but he's played it. And so they go into the statue, find out, oh, it's a vault for Jedi artifacts.
And it's like,
Well, Jedi and Sith artifacts.
Jedi
It's just
and Sith
Force. It's
artifacts.
just Force artifacts in general. This has to be the most dangerous vault I've ever seen for Force
Yeah.
artifacts.
because from how it seems, it doesn't seem like they were arranged like with a note like, hey,
Don't
like,
touch
on
this
the
one.
inside, don't touch this one. It seems more like people just piled them in there.
Now that could be because the vault collapsed on its side.
Yeah, that could be it, but it doesn't seem like it.
Because the vault is on its side.
Mm.
Because it's supposed to be this way, and then they...
They brought it down.
Which is also why the Fallen Guardian statue, like the Fallen Jedi statue, is where it is when we get to Rogue One. And so they find these... They get caught immediately.
Yeah.
Fight ensues. Tay finds these gloves.
Yeah.
That are
'Cause
like...
his crossbow don't work.
Yeah, his crossbow don't work, so he finds these magical gloves that produce like a lightning sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he
just goes for it.
yeah, he almost finishes Yana.
Yeah. He's just.
Yana almost doesn't make it out of this fight.
Yeah.
He does beat the crap out of Yana's friend.
Yeah.
And then the Herald comes in, unfortunately, and kind of wrecks Tay to
Yeah.
like to the point where Vildar thinks he died.
And he's like, He's done.
So
He's so done.
Vildar takes the gloves, and unfortunately,
I think this is after like Vildar's saber's been damaged.
yes, his saber's been damaged, and so unfortunately, where Tay only kind of felt the force effects of these gloves, Vildar fully embraces them.
Yeah.
Not to have a pun there, because he embraces, because they're gloves.
You trying to make
A bracers joke,
Yeah.
because gloves, bracers, gauntlets.
Yep.
Although I think they're technically called gauntlets. I think, if I remember correctly now.
Yeah. Braces and gauntlets are
they're slightly different, but like
basically gauntlets
Yeah.
have a part for your hand.
Yeah.
Braces do not.
Yeah. I know, but like in most RPGs, you put them on your hands and that's it. You don't have rooms for gloves, even though you do. Even though you do.
Item slots.
And yeah, Vildar goes full in. He goes
like,
full villain.
Vildar is like, I'm gonna hit you with a max charge. I'm done. And everyone's like, Vildar, what the fuck, man? I understand.
Actually, Harold doesn't care. He feeds on this.
He's like, do it. Kill me. Jedi.
They also, I think they almost one-shot the Nameless, if I remember correctly.
They like fuck it up, and the Nameless is like, what the shit is this?
Like
That didn't feel good.
Yeah.
Fuck this, I'm out. The staff gets broken.
Yeah, the staff. Yep, that's why. Yeah,
That's where that happens.
because remember, the rod gets broken, which is a key. It is a key part of the Path of Vengeance storyline.
It gets broken here.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's the rod of Daybreak.
Yeah.
So the rod of Daybreak gets broken, which messes up her control of the Nameless.
So it'll follow her around, but you can't like order it.
Yeah, because remember because one of the key factors of the entire Mother's plot is that she can't have the Nameless attack her.
Yeah.
Because she is also force sensitive, as proven in Path of Vengeance.
Yeah, and her just being around it is bad for.
Yeah, because we see her hand later. Yeah. We're tying this in because we've already talked about that book, so we kind of have to talk about the tie-ins now.
Since they take place at the same time.
And so, like, and I think that's part of the wider narrative and why I think the High Republic works, because you can view these things on their own. Like, you could just read the comics and be like, oh, I get the High Republic, I like it. But if you want more information, you got other stuff out there. Same thing with the novels. You can read just the novels and get the story. I think you'll miss some stuff. Like, I feel like if you just read the adult novels, you don't get the full conclusion of Phase 2. Whereas I think Phase 1 works better on that. I think Phase 1 you can read just the adult novels. Phase 2's adult novels I don't think tell the entire story of Phase 2. I think you have to read the young adult novels.
Yeah. Like,
I feel like Path of Deceit and Path of Vengeance work better as the main story arc for Phase 2. But going back to the comic.
Yeah. While Vildar is having his,
I'm Vengeance.
I am, yeah, he's going full Batman on everyone.
Specifically, though, like, the Batman. Like,
yeah.
He's Robert Pattinson Batman.
I've never seen someone who, like, did not know who they were dealing with in a movie.
To be fair, that was technically, like, year 1 Batman.
Yeah.
So that's fair. You don't know who that is. Like, this is a Batman where it's like, oh, he's just a legend. Like, he's not, like, someone that people know is actually out there.
Don't know which crime's gonna be stopped tonight, but one of them will be. That's like the entire. They're like, who's it gonna be tonight?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love the way that's shot during that part where they're. Yeah.
Moving on though, I do like that the Sorcerer of Ton, the friendly one, is like, hey man, yo, chill. Cause like I get it, I understand. Cause like.
Yeah, because eventually they do make it out of the Enlightenment after they kick so much ass.
Mhm.
Like they destroy those murder bots.
Yeah, they give him the what for.
It helps that, the bodyguards of the Enlightenment.
Yeah, the Pirali sisters.
Yeah. Helps that they were around.
Yeah.
It was them and Maddie's brain.
Them, Maddie, they set them on fire, cut them in half with laser swords, and were just beat to death.
Yep. But yeah, so yeah, they catch up to Vildar and them, and they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Chill. He's alive, by the way. Like, they're like, Tay's alive. You don't have... You're good. You won this.
You won.
This is a... We will take him in for justice. You're good. Thankfully, they do manage to pull Vildar back.
Yeah.
He does take him off, and he's like, oh, yeah, I went a little bit...
And they're like, no, we get it.
Because it's not just for Tay, it's also for Master Laban.
Yeah.
Because he knew Master Laban. But yeah, so they take him in, and they reveal that he was behind everything to the public, because the public still needs to know, because it's like, hey, people are still rioting. And so they're like, this is the guy who started it, he did it on purpose. And then he even admits it. He's like, yeah.
Like, yeah, I did it.
Mainly because at this point, he's trying to set up the mother. Because this is his, like...
The plan.
Yeah, because as I have been calling the entire time, him and the mother do not get along, and he's just he was just biding for time to betray her. And so this is him, like, working with the system so he can be free to betray her.
He hates her so much.
And so this is the part where he is in prison, which we see in Path of Vengeance how he gets out. But he's in prison, and basically the community as a whole is like, okay, time to clean up and work together. Which it's nice to see Jeddah as a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, there's only one city on the entire planet, so it's not a lot of cleanup they have to do, but it's still a lot. And then they reform the convocation, because they're like, okay, we need to figure out a better way for this to work.
Yeah, because it's not going so well right now.
And so the new system is, one, Vildar is now the person for the Jedi.
Yeah.
He's the Jedi liaison.
Yeah, and there's a moment of like, wait, whoa, why?
Because people trust you.
Because people trust you.
I mean, that's essentially what it like. They're like, one, you're the oldest here. You're the only knight besides Olivia here, and Olivia does not want the job. So
yeah.
And also, you're Maddie's master now, because Laban's dead.
Yep.
And then Tay takes on a liaison role as well in the convocation, because the convocation realized they need a non-force user liaison. They basically need a man of the people. They need somebody that can be that voice to kind of like, because the problem is the force convocation, while everybody is bringing in different beliefs, they are shouting at each other so much on those beliefs that there's not enough voices of the people that aren't related to that to be like, hey, y'all get along on a lot of these issues. Why are y'all yelling at each other?
Shut the fuck up.
Or even like, because they realize, well, the way that the path is going about their beliefs is wrong. The idea that the Force does have an effect on other people is not wrong in and of itself.
It's not entirely wrong.
Yeah. It's not entirely wrong, it's the presentation of it.
Yeah.
As well as the fact that we know that the mother manipulates the Force to make things happen.
People.
Yeah. Like we talked about in that, when we had that episode of the Enlightenment, where we talked about the path member that joined because their sibling died.
Yeah, in the cave-in.
And we were like, yeah, the mother probably caused that. Because nothing happened until a path member showed up and told you, hey, your brother shouldn't have done that. And then cave-in happened, and then your brother died, and it's like... Or no, the brother didn't die. There was a cave-in, though.
No, the Path member's brother did die along with 9 other
Oh yeah,
people.
okay, yeah. Because there was the cave-in that the brother saved.
Yeah, and
And
then
then
later on another one happened.
yeah, and so I'm like they never. I don't think the text ever fully states that the mother's behind all these events.
Yeah.
But I still 100% believe the mother's behind all these events.
It wouldn't surprise me if she was.
Because we learn how much of a
'Cause
con
she
artist she
does
is.
a lot.
She's a con artist.
Yeah.
Like that's her thing. So and so that's really about it for this
Yeah.
like we flew through this. I like this. I like the conclusion. I think it works well as a tie into everything that's going on. It tells the story it needs to, which it's Vildar's story ultimately.
Yeah.
And I think we get this story of somebody who's struggling with his identity and his fears, because he still holds these fears from his childhood of like the Force.
Yeah.
And specifically like the
he's worried basically that he's going a bit too hard.
The dangers of the Force.
Yeah,
he's
worried about going a bit off the deep end.
He doesn't want to end up like the Sorcerer of Tun that was in his childhood.
His village
yeah.
Down. Which is a good concern to have, just generally, like
but
when you have magic powers.
Yeah.
But
it's when it controls your life that it's an issue.
To the point of where it's like either solve it or get stepping.
Yeah. And he's kind of been letting it control his life.
Yeah.
As we see when he first meets the Sorcerer of Tun in the first volume, where he immediately is like, "Oh, something from my childhood that scares me."
You better stab it.
And it's just like, no,
calm down. It's not that serious.
And so, and I think it's also the message of that comic entirely that just because the Force religion is different doesn't make it bad.
Yeah.
Because we even learn like with that one shot like part of it where it's just about the convocation, with Olivia walking in on them fighting that person that tries to join. They are known for being a dark side religion, but they haven't been for like a decade. But
then they haven't been like actively going out and fucking things up.
Yeah. Like or even like not even that. They've kind of changed alignment of what their religion believes according to the person that was trying to join.
Yeah.
And so like, and I would say even dark side religions have a place in that discussion, as long as these aren't as long as they're not like Sith, where their whole thing is like torment people.
Basically, don't fucking be an ass about it.
Because I would argue that the Sith are kind of,
I would say
it's a different thing.
The Sith are really sadistic.
Whereas
that's their interpretation of the dark side.
Whereas like the Night Sisters, I could see having a seat at the table.
Yeah. It's like, because Sith are very much like, they're addicted to power and the abuse of it. Whereas the Night Sister magic, yeah, it's a little bit icky sometimes, but I'm like, I haven't seen them inflict pain intentionally on people.
Except for Dooku,
but he's not really a Night Sister.
Well, I meant they inflicted pain on Dooku.
Well, yeah,
that's the exception.
That's the exception. They know what they were doing. He knew what was gonna happen. He knew the rules.
Man was in his pajamas.
So what?
But yeah, I'd put them at the table because while their dark side is not about hurting people. It's about just interacting with death as a whole. And while they don't treat they don't treat the male Dathomirians very well.
No, they don't.
And there are some icky issues that are involved with their culture. I'd say a lot of the Force side of it is just about interacting with death, and because they like to, they don't even touch the Force directly if you want to really get technical about it, because they deal with the Ichor a lot of the time, which is how they connect to the Force. They themselves are generally not connecting to the Force themselves, with few exceptions.
Witchcraft.
it's mostly witchcraft with the Ichor being their like
medium.
Yeah, it's kind of like in D&D when you have your
material component.
Well, not even the material component, the like if you're a warlock or something and you have your pack boon, or if you're a sorcerer and you have your special item that you carry. I forget what it's called.
Your focus.
Yeah, your focus. It's basically a focus. Like the Ichor is the focus, although I think probably spell material is probably more accurate now that I think about it, because
they use different things.
Because it gets used up like a spell component, whereas a focus you always have it. Spell components you use up and then you got to get new. So
yeah.
The Ichor does get used up and they got to get more Ichor. But it's also a naturally occurring thing on Dathomir because it's about the death of people on that planet where the Ichor comes from.
Yeah.
And so it's a natural version of the dark side, but it's also like still the dark side. They're still interacting with the dark side. But they're not twisting the Force themselves. Whereas that's what the Sith do. The Sith, because we talked a little bit about like the views of how the Force work and light side versus dark side. Light side is somebody who lets the Force flow through them and kind of lets the Force guide their actions rather than doing things rather than just going, I want to do this. Like it's like having a superpower, but if you had a voice in your head going, here's how you should use that power, and you just kind of let that guide when you use it. Whereas the dark side is more of, I have all this power, I'm just going to do whatever I want with it. And a lot of it is, and that's why the balance exists, because the dark side, there is a balance between light side and dark side, and the dark side does just naturally exist as the opposite, but the dark side is a natural thing. It's a naturally occurring thing. It's the death. It's stuff that just happens in life. But the moment that you force your will on the dark side is when you're like changing how much of that percentage is dark side, and also like throwing off the balance because now the light side is.
Yeah. So one of the things I was thinking about recently,
and
it was in regards to like the light and the dark side and the Jedi and the Sith. And I'm like, you know what would be a great and simple thing if Jedi would just start doing? They're like, yes, you can touch the dark side. However, just a heads up, it's going to put way more strain on your body than you can possibly imagine.
Well, it's not even just that. It's like because we've had this discussion. It's like a drug. You dip in and
yeah, sure,
but
it's gonna help you over time. Sorry, it'll help you in the now, but in the long term, it's going to cost you.
Yeah, because you're gonna
you're gonna need more and more of it to keep yourself in the state that you are now.
Keeping that drug kind of metaphor.
Yeah, it's the way that it's steroid use basically, as opposed to incremental training.
Yeah, because like
sure you'll get a big boost at the beginning, but
eventually you just have to take more and more and more of it to where it just damages your body more than it's actually helping. And I guess that's where the whole dark side ugliness, like we see with Palpatine and like the whole red eyes and everything, that's maybe where that comes from. That could be an explanation if that's something that basically you as a fan want to interpret it as.
My interpretation is light side will not necessarily give you great big jumps, but rather a steady incline. Whereas dark side will give you great big jumps, but the strain that it will put in your body is immense.
Not worth. Yeah, like it's not worth it in the long run.
Yeah, like maybe once, if then.
I mean, it's why we see, because people always talk about how powerful Sith are. Like, yeah, Palpatine's really powerful because he keeps dipping into that thing.
Yeah.
He's never not dipping into that well. He is consistently dipping into it to the point that if he stopped dipping into it,
I'm pretty sure he'd just die.
Yeah.
Like, we don't really see him do much. Like, we see him maybe walk around, But
And
it's
we
always walking around kind of like hunched over and very slowly.
and when he is in combat, it's usually because he's dipping so much into the dark side that it's like dripping.
Yeah.
Like,
you cut him, I'm sure. I'm almost thinking like a fucking wraith or a dementor, it would just explode out.
but yeah,
It's like, what's all that weird black smoke? Yeah, just the fucking concentrated evil bullshit.
yeah. But these people are nothing without that
Yeah.
ability. Like they're not. And so, and so I like the. So I guess the final. I kind of want to do a little fun question before we wrap up.
Sure.
Convocation. There's plenty of religions in it. I mean, you don't know all of the obviously ideologies, but is there a specific one that caught your eye that you would be like, oh, if I had to join one? We're gonna obviously take Jedi off the table, because obviously that's the safe answer.
Me and my well-known hatred of Jedi.
Well, also Jedi, I feel like is the safe answer.
Okay, just a reminder who
So
who on
yeah,
there?
I'll pull up the list. I know off the bat the Makashi warriors. Those are the ones with the pikes. Cause that's one that I remember doing a video on TikTok for a while back. I did one for most of the religions, but it's been a minute. I cannot spell for the life of me. There we go. Convocation of the Force. I've been saying it wrong. So we've got. Sorry, the Mudokai are the ones that have the pikes. You got the Will, Disciple of the Wills. That's the lead lady that's in charge of it.
Okay.
You got the Fallen Asi. That's the like. They believe in like the white current style of the Force. I believe that's the Fallen Asi. I believe one of those two is the Fallen Asi. The one that looks like Plo Koon is the Mudokai. Okay. You got the Sorcerers of Tun. You got the Lanto. Okay, she's the Lanto.
Lanto are like trees and roots,
yeah,
right?
I'm very connected to the plant life and the literal version of the living force.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Guardians, of course, the Guardians of the Will. I don't
Probably
know.
not joining them.
Yeah. Although they are different by the end of.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, sorry. Church of the Force is the one that's in charge. Sorry. What's the Disciple of the Wills then? Oh, that's the group that's connected to Guardians of the Guardians of the Wills. So you got some options there. I feel like I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna say I feel like I know what answer you're gonna say, but I'm gonna let you say first.
Well, I have forgotten. I will go with the only other fucking one I know anything about.
Oh, okay.
So, looking at those sorcerers, I guess.
Okay, I was thinking the Mudokai because like I feel like getting the pike like that style of weapon.
Like pikes.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, they use like pole arms in general. Yeah. Like it doesn't have to be a pike, but that's just their style. It's very like I can actually pull. I pulled it up for my TikTok when I talked about them.
Yeah.
Let's see if I even have that RPG book still. Jedi Academy stuff.
All right.
This is not canon material, but because a lot of those religions were moved from Legends material to canon.
Okay.
This is all about Force religions. This is specifically like the new Jedi Order era. So when Luke was having his academy, got the Ang monks, which is where Jared got the Ang character. Yeah. Well, they're not really treefold, but it's just a religion. The Ang are that's where Jared got his tree guy from. Yeah. Like where he pulled his religion from. The Fallen Nazi. This is the whole white current stuff. Very similar to like how the Ronin kind of envisions the Force.
Ronin uses both like light and dark side, but I actually really like their descriptions of the forest because I think that they're very useful in showing the distinction between the two.
Yeah, here's a Mudokai. So, like, for the sake of the... A lot of polearm combat. I think there's one more that's been moved. This is more like a elemental thing, but specifically fire. Nope, that's it from this book, actually. I got transferred. But a lot of those are from Legends material, different stuff, and then some of them are new. Like the Guardians is canon only, like because that came from Rogue One. I would probably...
Who you join up with?
Ooh. See, the Mudokai are cool, because I do kind of like the polearm kind of combat thing. Sorcerers of Thunder are actually in this book, but they're in the dark side part of this book, because, yeah. They're actually written as an enemy that you can set your players up against. Because this is kind of... This is from Wizards of the Coast when they had the license. And this is more of a D20 system. It's closer to like if 3.5 met 4th edition. Because they were like in that in-between point when they made this system. So it's kind of that style of tabletop. So you have like class levels and CRs for your enemies. I'd probably go to the Mudokai.
Okay.
But the wheels are not... They're probably a backup. Like they're not... I don't think they're as bad. Like, I think the High Republic era ones, absolutely.
Not great.
I think by the time of Rogue One, they worked their stuff out, but also by the time of Rogue One, they're also dying out. Because the Sith are like, no, we can't have other Force religions.
Kill them all.
I thought that was a fun question though, because I feel like that's a fun little hype. Like, we got to have a fun question every now and then on the show. I think that's it for this. I definitely give this like an 8 because it's a very good comic. I definitely recommend reading Volume 1 and Volume 2 together. I would also recommend reading Path of Vengeance with it as a side piece.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to read Path of Vengeance to enjoy these comics, but I think you'll get more out of it. Is what it comes down to.
I'll give it like a 7.5.
Alright, well, that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you all for watching today's episode of Escape Reality Star Wars Talk. I've been your host, Caleb. Be sure to like, comment, follow, subscribe to us. You can find us at Escape Reality Films on YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. You can also show your support for us by joining our Patreon, which is at Escape Reality Films. Shout out to Jennifer Brantley.
Yo.
There you can watch our YouTube content a week before it's publicly available, although currently you can watch content almost 3 months now before public availability, because like I've got stuff that's like not coming out until like...
Got quite a bit of backlog.
I've got stuff that's not coming up till like mid-November.
Yeah, you got content.
Yeah, I've got content. So if y'all want to watch content a good amount of time while it's there, currently you can watch, because I've been uploading our normal YouTube content schedule, but the only reason I haven't been making it public right now is because I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3 live streams as daily as I can. Sometimes I take a day off because I'm just tired, but it's mostly daily, and usually we have daily content, but since I'm doing the live streams, that's counted as the content. But once I finish Baldur's Gate 3 live streams, we'll go back to normal programming on the YouTube end, and then that's when we'll start publicly releasing the stuff that's currently on Patreon, which includes a D&D campaign I've been running, as well as some one-shots that we're planning in the future, which I'm probably going to message people about today.
Yeah. And
then tomorrow
somehow I convinced people.
Yeah. If anything, actually, you should probably see if a Friday works better, because I can make a Friday work for that.
Yeah. I'll see what I can do with it.
Because that's what we did last time. We did a Friday.
Yeah.
But I want to do also, like I said in the chat, I want to do a recap of
Yeah.
the one that we lost, because we lost one, and during the great fall of the hard drive, just as I was editing and exporting it too for part 2, because it took us 2 sessions, and session 1 was done, and I was about to do session 2's work, and then would have had 2 videos there ready to go.
Yeah.
Currently, y'all can watch 3 different videos though for D&D that I've got, because we got 3 sessions of a different campaign I've been running, and that one's been a lot of fun. A lot of near deaths and crunchiness.
Well, I have my thoughts on why that is.
Well, I know why. I know exactly why it is. I mean, I'll say it on here. It's because I'm running high-level adventures on low-level players.
Yep.
They're doing good in these fights, though, and I've asked them. I was like, after the third session, I literally was like, hey, before you guys leave, are you okay with how these fights are going? Do I need to... Because I already halved these fights.
Yeah.
Because, like, the first session, someone died. First session. And so I was like, second session, half the amount of combatants that you guys have to deal with, because they got into a big fight first session. They were fighting like 12 people at once. Now, to be fair, first session was a 7-man party.
Yeah.
Second session was a 6-man, and now we've found the balance of how many people want to play for the rest of the campaign. We're probably adding one more player at the moment. As of session 3, we had 3 players, but we want to round it out to a 4th player.
Yep.
We've already kind of worked out who's going to take that spot. Yeah, so I asked them after the session, after the third one, I was like, I've already been halving the amount of people you are fighting. Do I need to lower this more? Are y'all fine with how crunchy this is? Because, like, people are still being knocked unconscious in every fight, which means they're using a lot of their health potions and resources in every fight. In fact, after the first fight in session 3, not to give too much away, they had to use all of their hit dice for their short rest, although at the level they're at, they don't get a lot.
Yeah.
But, like, that still kind of sucks to have to use all your hit dice after one fight and then go into another fight. Have another unconscious person happen in that fight, and then not have any short rests, just your potions. It's not great. I mean, it can be a good challenge if you as a player like that. And so they said they were fine with it. They said they liked having that kind of challenge. So I think in that kind of situation, as long as you as the DM and your players are fine with the balance of, like, how tough that fight was, I think you're fine. And I think it's also good as a DM to maybe present a challenge like that every now and then. I don't think every fight you should have somebody going unconscious. I'm more preaching to myself on this one.
I was about to say, look, man, I know I made some of
No,
these
I'm
fights
preaching to
kinda hard.
No,
but
because you don't do that. I'm preaching to myself on this.
I think for me, it's always like,
you definitely drain resources, but you don't. I don't think somebody's going unconscious every fight.
yeah.
Mine, there's every fight they've been going unconscious.
I think that's usually because I'll try to throw things that are appropriate for what they should be dealing with. I gotta admit, man, sometimes with you, I'm like, okay, didn't know I was gonna be dealing with this today.
Yeah, without saying what they fought on air.
Yeah.
I don't know if I told you what they fought session 3.
I don't think so. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it after. Anyways, if you want to find out what they fought in session 3, you can go to the Patreon. Look at that, full circle. You can go to the Patreon, and for $10 a month, you can find out what they're doing in the campaign. We don't know when session 4 is going to happen yet. That's a conversation that's going to happen this weekend as well. Probably tomorrow I'm going to talk about it. With them, because I also had to figure out building the new player's character as well.
Yeah.
So, and also figuring out where they're gonna end up, which is something I'll probably discuss with them. But yeah, so if you want to watch that, there are 3 sessions there, which are like almost 4 hours each. So that's 12 hours of content for $10. That's cheaper than a movie.
Yep.
It's cheaper than most television like most streaming services right now because they keep raising the price.
Yeah, they do.
So I say,
sounds like I'm excited about it. I'm not.
and we also love the people that we work with, so
Yeah.
we're doing better than all of those things. So so go support us.
Yeah.
The more you support us, the more I can eventually pay these guys and myself. Because right now, most of the money just goes directly into buying the things that we talk about.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I bought that magazine last
Yeah.
week. I quickly grabbed like the $8 that, because Patreon takes their share. I quickly grabbed like the $8 that was left, so that for that month from Jennifer, and was like, okay, magazine time.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I think that's everything on that end. Yeah, you can also find me though on Twitter at EscapeReality904 and Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Caleb.Lockwood. And we also have some other plugs.
Yes. So,
speaking of D&D,
every Sunday from 5 to Central Standard Time, you can go and catch me and some friends of ours.
5 to 7 Central Standard. You said 5 to Central.
Central Standard Time.
Yeah, there you go.
Central Time, because I guess.
Yeah, I think it's no longer. I think the S only counts when. No, it's still standard right now. Yeah.
Yep. Fuck me up.
Well, because you said 5 to Central.
5 to 7 Central.
Yeah.
Standard Time.
Catch them live on YouTube.
Over on YouTube, at the Steam Dungeons in the campaign Trials of Naboo. So, like I said, currently debating whether or not to go on a hit.
Oh, that's still being discussed?
That's still being discussed. I've got 2, maybe 3 people to help me do it.
Oh, so you're basically going to accept it. You're just getting the squad together.
I'm trying to figure out where the target lives. And then me and Adarpi, Simon, Adarpi, and Nissa are gonna go kill him.
Okay.
We're not fucking around. But before that...
Remind me. Simon is who?
Simon is me.
Okay.
Adarpi is Keontae's girlfriend.
And Nissa?
And Nissa is John.
Okay. I just wanted that for you guys, as well as myself.
Yeah. Kiari, Kiari, and Nick are Nobody and Mana. And they're off dealing with their own problems. The more recent thing that's going to happen is Simon is continuing his journey through the Gladiator Ring. And I have to keep essentially basically a target dummy for hyenas safe for 3 rounds.
Oh.
There are 5 of them.
Oh.
I have a plan. Hopefully it will work.
So it's basically that scene from Sky High of Save the Citizen?
Yes. We're doing Save the Citizen. Fortunately, because Simon, for some reason, despite him going around and doing a bunch of shady stuff, he always walks in and out through the front door, and no one's tried to kill him.
I'm also glad you caught my Sky High reference, because sometimes I'll say a movie and you're like, what movie?
Yeah, I've seen Sky High. I have the book, actually.
But yeah.
For some reason, Sky High, I know that one.
It's a good Disney movie.
It is. And Simon is pretty good. He's fine with the Gladiator tournament.
Yeah.
Nobody, Nick's character, is not, because he's one of the characters who got almost assassinated the other day. So he's only been able to get a short rest in. He is a spellcaster.
Yeah.
He is a sorcerer. He should be fine if he's careful, but considering it might be a 5-on-1 like it is for Simon, could be bad.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a lot of, like, direct big explosion spells.
Yeah. Well, that'll be interesting.
We'll see how well it goes. I'm curious.
So that's tomorrow?
That is tomorrow from 5 to 7 Central Standard Time.
We'll see if you can save the citizen.
Yeah. I feel like I can do it.
Well, once again, thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next week with the High Republic Adventures, The Nameless Terror.
Oh God.
I have spoken.
Y'all have a good one.